Hello and welcome to the EuroTech Podcast Weekly Wrap-Up, covering 1st to 10th January 2026. I'm your host, and today we'll recap the most important European tech company news from the past week. We have 8 big stories on everything from soaring stocks and major acquisitions to startup funding, product launches, and innovations unveiled at CES.
Later in the episode, we will discuss European consumer app alternatives, our first of 2 episodes on finding alternatives to U.S. tech companies in preparation for the new European Liberation Day.
Let's dive in.
European stock markets kicked off 2026 at record levels. The Pan-European Stoxx 600 index approached the 600-point milestone, and London's FTSE 100 crossed the 10,000 mark for the first time. Tech shares helped power the gains. ASML, Europe's largest semiconductor company, jumped 7% in the opening days of trading. Defense stocks also rallied, contributing to the upbeat market mood. Analysts say the strong start reflects investor optimism toward European tech and equity markets going into the new year. Notably, Danish wind power firm Ørsted saw its stock rise approximately 4.6% after pushing back on a U.S. offshore project delay, showing company-specific moves also drove some headlines.
In a major acquisition for Europe's AI sector, global consulting giant Accenture announced plans to acquire Faculty, a London-based artificial intelligence firm. Faculty is known for advising OpenAI and others on AI safety and has deep ties in the UK tech scene. Co-founder Mark Warner, a former government AI advisor, will become Chief Technology Officer at Accenture once the deal closes. Faculty's 400-plus employees will join Accenture, bolstering the consulting firm's push to meet soaring demand for safe and secure AI solutions for enterprise clients. Financial terms were not disclosed, but this move underscores how Europe's AI talent and companies are becoming key targets for big global tech players.
Bulgarian fintech startup Payhawk, which helps companies manage corporate spending, is reportedly in early talks to raise a new funding round and about a $2 billion valuation. According to Bloomberg, Payhawk is seeking over $100 million in fresh financing, which would roughly double its last valuation. These discussions are still in progress, but if successful, it would mark a big milestone for the Sofia-based scale-up and one of the first European fintech unicorn valuations of 2026. Payhawk's growth reflects continued investor interest in Europe's fintech sector heading into the new year, even as global markets remain selective. We'll keep an eye on whether the deal comes through and solidifies Payhawk's unicorn status.
In confirmed funding news, Swap, a London-headquartered e-commerce software startup, has raised $100 million in a Series C round, co-led by DST Global and Iconic Capital. Swap provides an AI-driven commerce operating system that unifies all the messy back-end operations of online retail, from returns and cross-border shipping to tax, payments, and inventory predictions, into one dashboard. Essentially, it helps mid-sized brands handle global e-commerce logistics and even features tools like virtual fitting rooms to reduce returns. This hefty investment comes just 6 months after Swap's previous round, signaling momentum. The new funding will fuel Swap's expansion beyond its core markets in Europe, the US, and Australia, as it aims to help online merchants boost sales and efficiency worldwide. It's an impressive leap for a company founded only in 2022.
Sustainability tech also saw a notable deal. London-based ESG software firm Diginex has acquired Plan A, a carbon accounting startup from Berlin, for 55 million euros. Plan A, founded in 2017 by Lubomila Jordanova, helps companies measure and reduce their carbon emissions and environmental footprint. By joining forces, Diginex, which focuses on regulatory compliance tech, and Plan A, focused on emissions data and analytics, aim to create a more comprehensive platform for corporate sustainability management. Significantly, Plan A's founder will stay on as CEO of the business under Diginex, a sign that Diginex intends to preserve Plan A's brand and expertise while scaling it up. This acquisition highlights growing investor and corporate interest in climate tech solutions emerging from Europe.
There was good news from a European unicorn this week. UK-based Quantexa, an AI startup specializing in data analytics for financial crime detection, reported a 50% jump in annual revenues, along with sharply narrowing losses. In its latest filings, Quantexa said revenue for the year reached £126 million, up 49% year-on-year, and pre-tax losses fell to £25 million from £48 million the year before. The company's big enterprise clients, which include HSBC and Vodafone, drove growth with new contracts and expanding use of Quantexa's platform. Quantexa also confirmed details of last year's funding round that gave it a $2.6 billion valuation, cementing its status as one of Europe's leading AI unicorns. The improved financial performance suggests that even as AI startups invest heavily in R&D, those with strong real-world use cases, like fighting fraud, can scale revenues and inch toward profitability.
The Consumer Electronics Show 2026 in Las Vegas saw a record presence from European tech companies, big and small. Over 300 European startups and scale-ups exhibited, including 150 from France alone, outnumbering even all other countries' contingents combined. Government-backed pavilions from countries like France, Italy, the Netherlands, Germany, and the UK showcased European innovation on the global stage. Notably, deep tech and hardware startups from Europe made a splash with futuristic demos. For example, Paris-based iNeuro wowed attendees with a brainwave authentication technology that could one day replace passwords with your unique neural signature. Meanwhile, Dracula Technologies from Grenoble exhibited paper-thin organic solar cells that harvest indoor light to power IoT devices without batteries. There were also exoskeletons, haptic navigation belts for the visually impaired, AI concierge systems, and more, all European-made. The strong European turnout in cutting-edge prototypes at CES underscore the continent's growing role in consumer and deep tech innovation.
Europe's auto giants also grabbed CES headlines with new tech-packed electric vehicles. BMW and Mercedes-Benz each used the show to highlight how AI and software are driving their latest models. Munich-based BMW announced a coming generative AI personal assistant, built on Amazon's Alexa, that will start rolling out to its cars this year. Stuttgart's Mercedes, for its part, debuted the all-new electric GLC SUV to the U.S. audience, showcasing an expansive MBUX hyperscreen infotainment system and intelligent driver aids. In fact, Mercedes says the GLC's cockpit is the first to integrate AI from both Microsoft and Google in its infotainment platform, illustrating the blend of auto and big tech. The company also previewed its upcoming CLA model with MB.Drive Assist Pro, a Level 2 Plus autonomous driving system developed with NVIDIA that can navigate city streets semi-independently. All these announcements reinforce that European luxury car makers are pivoting to become as much about high-tech user experience as horsepower, a key theme as vehicles become computers on wheels.
And that's a wrap for this week's EuroTech Update. We covered soaring markets, big funding deals, acquisitions in AI and green tech, plus the coolest European innovations on display. Next, European consumer app alternatives, our first of 2 episodes on finding alternatives to US tech companies in preparation for the new European Liberation Day. Look at your phone's home screen. Google or Safari, Gmail, WhatsApp, Instagram, YouTube, Netflix, Uber, Amazon, and ChatGPT. Across Europe, we've largely standardized on American consumer apps. So here's a simple question. If you wanted to replace some of them with European alternatives, could you actually do it without making your life worse? This is about choice, competition, privacy, and what European digital sovereignty really means for us as consumers.
Let's be realistic. switching apps can be painful. You might lose features, convenience, or even your social network. That's why this won't be about purity tests. We'll approach it pragmatically, one category at a time, prioritizing options that minimize friction. By European alternatives, we mean apps built by European companies, governed under European law, often aligned with GDPR, and shaped by a different cultural attitude toward privacy and data. Many emphasize privacy or open-source principles, not as ideology, but as a product feature.
Ultimately, switching is practical, not philosophical. The real questions are, do you lose functionality, integration, or reach? Is the ecosystem mature enough? Our plan is simple. During 2 episodes, we'll walk through major consumer app categories and highlight realistic European substitutes, combining a user perspective with insight into their history, business models, backers, and growth potential. In this episode, we will cover messaging and social, web browsers and search, email and calendars, cloud storage and productivity, maps and navigation, transport and mobility. Let's begin.
Messaging is the hardest category to switch because of the network effect. Your friends, family, and group chats are already on WhatsApp, so leaving feels almost impossible. In many European countries, WhatsApp reaches more than 80% of the population, and globally, it has grown into a near utility with billions of users. Despite being owned by Meta, an American company, it has become the default communication layer across Europe. This dominance makes messaging a special case. Unlike browsers or email, switching isn't just about personal preference. It's about where everyone else already is.
Still, European alternatives exist, mostly focused on privacy or specific use cases. Threema, based in Switzerland, is privacy-first by design. It requires no phone number, charges a one-time fee, avoids advertising, and keeps servers under Swiss law. Its user base is small compared to WhatsApp, but it appeals to security-conscious users and institutions. Wire, originally Swiss and now EU-based, began as a consumer messenger, but shifted toward enterprise and government clients needing secure collaboration. While its consumer adoption remains limited, it has found traction in paid business use. Element, built on the open-source Matrix protocol, takes a different approach. It's decentralized, widely used by communities and institutions, and has been adopted by European governments and public sector organizations. Its business model centers on hosting and enterprise support rather than consumer scale.
The realistic approach to messaging isn't full replacement. It's coexistence. You won't convince everyone to abandon WhatsApp overnight. Instead, keep WhatsApp for broad social use while introducing a second messenger for more private conversations. Invite a small circle, close friends, family, trusted colleagues, to join you on a privacy-focused app. Frame it simply. For sensitive or personal conversations, let's use this. Over time, that parallel channel can grow naturally. Looking ahead, EU regulation may change the game. New rules aim to force interoperability between major messaging platforms, potentially allowing European apps to connect into WhatsApp's network. If successful, this could lower barriers for smaller messengers and create real competitive pressure. From both a consumer and investor perspective, messaging remains one of the most important and most difficult battlegrounds in Europe's digital ecosystem.
Europe does not have yet a true mass market replacement for Instagram or TikTok. There's no European app with hundreds of millions of people posting selfies or short videos every day. That market is dominated by American platforms like Instagram and Chinese ones like TikTok. What Europe does have are niche and alternative social platforms, often smaller, more intentional, and usually built around values like decentralization, privacy, or authenticity, rather than scale. These aren't substitutes for influencer culture, but they are worth understanding.
One example is Mastodon, a decentralized microblogging platform created in Germany. Instead of one central service, it works like email, many independent servers connected together. Mastodon gained attention during periods of turmoil at Twitter, briefly reaching millions of users before settling back into a smaller but stable niche. It's run as a nonprofit, funded by donations and grants, with no ads or algorithmic feed. It won't replace Instagram, but it can replace Twitter-style scrolling with a calmer, community-driven experience. PixelFed applies the same decentralized idea to photo sharing. It's small, open source, and ad-free, mostly used by hobbyists and privacy-conscious users. It's not where influencers are going, but it works well for people who want a chronological photo feed without surveillance or engagement pressure. A rare European breakout was Be Real, founded in France. Its daily dual-camera prompt offered a reaction against curated social media. It reached tens of millions of daily users at its peak and attracted significant venture funding before being acquired by a European gaming company. While its usage has leveled off, Be Real proved that Europe can still invent new social formats, even if sustaining engagement remains difficult.
The realistic way to think about social media in Europe isn't finding a one-to-one replacement, but rethinking habits. You may not quit Instagram entirely, but you can reduce reliance on algorithmic feeds by sharing photos privately through messaging apps and using Instagram more selectively. For news, discussion, and niche communities, Mastodon can replace the endless outrage-driven scroll of mainstream platforms, especially for journalists, academics, and tech communities. It's smaller, but often healthier. As for TikTok-style short video dopamine, Europe simply doesn't offer an equivalent. Replacing that habit likely means behavioral change rather than switching platforms. From an investor perspective, this category is sobering. Europe has struggled to build global, winner-takes-all social networks. Instead, its strengths lie in privacy-focused, decentralized, and community-driven platforms that align with European values. They won't dethrone Instagram or TikTok, but for consumers, they offer meaningful alternatives with very different trade-offs.
Your web browser is your gateway to the internet, and switching it is one of the easiest changes you can make. Unlike messaging or social media, it doesn't depend on network effects. You don't need anyone else to switch with you, and almost every browser can load the same websites. Most people simply stick with the default: Chrome on PCs and Android, Safari on Apple devices. But the real difference lies in who controls the browser and your default services. From a European perspective, browsers are one of the rare areas where credible alternatives exist, offering similar performance with different values around privacy and control.
The standout European option today is Vivaldi, founded by the former co-founder of Opera and based in Norway, with servers in Iceland. Built on Chromium, it supports Chrome extensions and modern web standards, but adds extensive customization and strong privacy defaults. Vivaldi is employee-owned and explicitly does not monetize user data. Instead, it earns revenue through search partnerships and optional premium features. It's small in market share, but highly respected among power users, and represents a sustainable European software business rather than a venture-scale play.
From a practical standpoint, switching browsers is low risk. You can install an alternative alongside your current browser, import bookmarks and passwords in minutes, and set it as default without disruption. Modern browsers make this process almost frictionless, and you can always keep Chrome or Safari as a backup for edge cases. The benefit is subtle but meaningful. Using an alternative browser reduces dependence on Google or Apple ecosystems and limits some data collection by default. While browsers themselves aren't major profit engines anymore, they shape user behavior and trust. European players like Vivaldi show that it's still possible to build high-quality, privacy-respecting software without massive scale. For consumers, browser switching is one of the simplest ways to assert digital independence, without sacrificing speed, compatibility, or convenience.
Google's dominance in search is so complete that its name became a verb. In Europe, its market share sits around 90%, making it the default gateway to the internet for most people. The good news is that, unlike social media or messaging, switching your search engine is extremely easy and requires no coordination with anyone else. European search alternatives don't usually try to beat Google on scale. Instead, they focus on privacy, transparency, or mission-driven goals, offering a way to get solid results without feeding Google's data machine by default.
One major European option is Quant. Founded in France as a privacy-first search engine, it avoids tracking users and limits personalization, serving ads based on the search query rather than user profiles. Quant received strong backing from the French state and European institutions and was positioned as a symbol of digital sovereignty. Despite this, it struggled to gain meaningful market share and still relies partly on Bing's technology. Recently, it came under new ownership involving French tech entrepreneurs and public institutions, giving it another chance to evolve. Quant remains an emblematic, if imperfect, European alternative. Ecosia, based in Germany, takes a different approach. It uses search advertising revenue to fund tree planting and climate projects, having supported hundreds of millions of trees worldwide. Its results are powered mainly by Bing, so quality feels familiar, and its privacy practices avoid personal profiling. With tens of millions of users, Ecosia shows that a purpose-driven European search engine can scale sustainably while remaining GDPR compliant. Startpage, from the Netherlands, offers a unique proposition: Google quality results without tracking. It acts as a privacy proxy, delivering Google's index anonymously. While trusted by many privacy advocates, it raised eyebrows after taking investment from a U.S. ad tech company. The company maintains it remains under Dutch privacy law, making it a popular but closely watched option.
From a practical standpoint, switching search engines involves almost no sacrifice. You simply set a new default in your browser. Many browsers even prompt you during setup. For everyday queries, these alternatives work just fine, and Google can always remain a backup for rare edge cases. There are some differences. Google excels at deeply personalized or ecosystem-integrated results. But for most searches, facts, shopping, images, or news, European alternatives perform well. Startpage even delivers identical results to Google, minus tracking. For users, this is one of the lowest friction changes you can make to regain some digital autonomy. For investors and policymakers, each switch slightly weakens Google's monopoly. Ecosia proves that European mission-driven platforms can reach meaningful scale, while Quant's journey shows that sovereignty requires both political will and technical excellence. At minimum, try using a European search engine as your default for a week. You may find you don't miss Google nearly as much as you expected.
Email is one category where European alternatives truly excel. Because email is based on open protocols, you're never locked into one provider. You can always migrate or forward messages. That makes switching far easier than social media or messaging. Europe has produced several strong, privacy-first email services that compete credibly with Gmail or Outlook, while keeping data under European jurisdiction. At the center of this space is Proton, founded in Switzerland by scientists from CERN. Proton offers end-to-end encrypted email and has expanded into a full privacy ecosystem with calendar, cloud storage, and VPN services. It runs on a freemium subscription model with no ads and no data mining. With over 100 million registered accounts, Proton has proven that large-scale consumer adoption and privacy can coexist. Its ownership structure, majority controlled by a Swiss nonprofit foundation, aligns its incentives with users rather than advertisers.
Germany offers two compelling alternatives. Tutanota is an open-source, end-to-end encrypted email service that even encrypts subject lines. It's run by a small, independent team, powered by renewable energy, and funded almost entirely through subscriptions rather than venture capital. While its interface is simpler than Proton's, it's exceptionally strong on security and philosophy, appealing to users who want a fully European anti-surveillance service. Mailbox.org, also based in Germany, takes a more traditional approach. It's a paid-only service offering email, calendar, cloud storage, and document editing, essentially a private alternative to Outlook or Google Workspace. Hosted entirely in Germany and built on open-source software, it targets professionals and families who want reliability, custom domains, and strong privacy without the complexity of encryption-heavy workflows. Switzerland also brings Infomaniac, an established hosting company that launched a full productivity suite, including email, calendar, cloud storage, and collaboration tools. Positioned as a sovereign alternative to Google Workspace, it's employee-owned, GDPR-compliant, and increasingly popular with European businesses and public institutions. Together, these providers show Europe's strength in secure, subscription-based communication services.
Switching email is best done gradually. Start by opening a new account and testing it alongside your existing one. Most European providers offer tools to import or forward mail from Gmail, so you won't miss messages. Then, over a few weeks or months, update your email address on important services and tell close contacts about the change. Keeping your old inbox as a backup during the transition avoids disruption and stress. There are trade-offs. End-to-end encryption means greater personal responsibility. If you lose recovery credentials, providers can't decrypt your mail for you. And if you rely heavily on Google's ecosystem, switching email often leads to rethinking document and cloud workflows as well. But the benefits are substantial. No ads, no scanning, stronger security, and data governed by European law. From a broader perspective, email is a European success story. Proton's scale and profitability show that users are willing to pay for privacy when the product is excellent. Governments and companies increasingly demand EU-hosted communication tools, reinforcing this trend. For consumers, moving primary email to a European provider is one of the most impactful steps toward digital independence, with minimal loss of convenience and a meaningful gain in trust and control.
Cloud storage and document tools are another area where Europe has strong, credible alternatives. You don't have to rely on Google Drive, OneDrive, or Dropbox for personal files or backups. European services increasingly cover most everyday needs, often with stronger privacy guarantees and clearer data ownership. At the privacy-focused end is Proton Drive, part of Proton's Swiss-based ecosystem. It offers end-to-end encrypted storage tightly integrated with Proton Mail. While still developing features like live collaborative editing, it excels at securely storing sensitive documents. For users already in the Proton ecosystem, it's a natural extension and a simple way to consolidate trust into fewer services.
For more mature file sync and sharing, Trezorit stands out. Founded in Hungary and now based in Switzerland, it provides zero-knowledge encrypted storage comparable to Dropbox, but with stronger security by default. Trezorit focuses heavily on business and professional users and was acquired by Swiss Post, highlighting Europe's strategic interest in owning secure cloud infrastructure. It's premium-priced, but widely trusted by journalists, lawyers, and organizations handling sensitive data. pCloud, also Swiss-based, targets mainstream consumers. It's known for polished apps, media previews, and popular lifetime plans. While not end-to-end encrypted by default, it offers an optional encrypted folder for sensitive files. With tens of millions of users, pCloud shows that European cloud services can reach scale while remaining independent. Other players include Internext, a Spanish privacy-focused startup still maturing, and Nextcloud, a German open-source platform that lets users or organizations run their own cloud entirely under their control. Nextcloud is widely adopted by European governments, schools, and companies, making it a cornerstone of Europe's digital sovereignty efforts.
The best way to switch cloud services depends on how you work. If you mainly use cloud storage for personal backups, moving files to Proton Drive, pCloud, or Trezorit is straightforward. You install the app, upload your data, and continue syncing as before, though you may lose some AI-powered conveniences like Google Photos automatic organization. Collaboration is trickier. Google Docs remains hard to replace for real-time editing at scale. In these cases, a hybrid approach works well. Keep Google Docs for shared projects when necessary, but move personal files and private sharing to European services. Tools like Nextcloud or Mailbox.org's document suites can handle moderate collaboration without relying on Google. The key shift is changing your default behavior. Save new files to a European cloud, share links from there, and reserve big tech tools only when required. You gain stronger encryption, clearer jurisdictional control, and often better value. From a broader perspective, cloud and productivity tools are a strategic growth area for Europe. Acquisitions like Swiss Post buying Tresorit and public sector adoption of Nextcloud show momentum. For users, the upside is simple: more privacy, more control, and far less dependence on American cloud giants, without giving up everyday usability.
For many people, Google Maps is the gold standard, especially for driving, traffic, and place information. It's excellent and hard to beat as an all-in-one product. Street View, business listings, reviews, and massive real-time data. Still, Europe and the open-source world offer credible mapping alternatives, particularly when you narrow the use case. The goal isn't to pretend Google Maps has an equal twin. It's to build a practical toolkit that reduces dependence on Google while still getting you from A to B efficiently.
A strong European-rooted option is Here We Go, built on the mapping business originally developed by Nokia and later acquired by a consortium of German automakers. Here powers many in-car navigation systems and focuses on licensing map data and location services rather than advertising. For users, Here We Go offers reliable turn-by-turn navigation and excellent offline maps. You can download entire countries and navigate without internet. It's also relatively privacy-friendly. You can use it without an account, and offline navigation reduces location data sharing. For outdoor navigation, Komoot is a European standout. Founded in Germany, it's built specifically for cycling, hiking, and route planning with elevation profiles and community tips, areas where Google Maps is often mediocre. Komoot reached tens of millions of users and shows how a niche focus can outperform big tech in a specific category. Then there's Organic Maps, an open-source app using OpenStreetMap data. It's lightweight, offline capable, and designed to avoid trackers and ads. It may lack real-time traffic and extensive reviews, but for basic navigation, especially offline or on foot, it's surprisingly strong, particularly in Europe, where OpenStreetMap data is highly detailed. CityMapper deserves a mention as a transit-focused tool that began in the UK, although it's no longer an independent European company after being acquired.
The realistic approach is a mapping stack, not a single replacement. Use Here We Go or another European navigation app for driving, especially when you want offline maps or less tracking. Use Komoot for hikes and bike rides. Keep Organic Maps as a privacy-first offline backup for travel. And keep Google Maps for what it still does best: deep place databases, reviews, and the most robust traffic insights. You don't have to quit it completely, just stop defaulting to it for every trip. This matters because maps generate highly personal data: home, work, routines, and habits. Diversifying reduces how much of your movement becomes part of a profile. Strategically, mapping is also a foundational industry. Europe's strength in Here, TomTom, and OpenStreetMap supports independence in automotive, logistics, and public infrastructure. For you as a consumer, trying alternatives on specific trips is a low-risk way to reduce reliance on Google, while often getting a better tool for the job.
Ride-hailing in Europe looks very different from the US. Uber exists in many cities, but often under tighter regulation, with limited coverage, or alongside strong local competitors. In some places, Uber isn't dominant at all. Europe developed its own taxi apps and mobility platforms early on, and public transport often plays a much bigger role. The result is a fragmented but competitive landscape where relying on a single app rarely makes sense.
The standout European success story is Bolt, founded in Estonia. Originally launched as a taxi app, Bolt expanded into ride-hailing, scooters, bikes, and food delivery. Today, it operates in hundreds of cities across Europe, Africa, and beyond, serving over 100 million customers. In many cities, especially in Eastern Europe, Bolt rivals or even outperforms Uber, often with lower prices and faster availability. Bolt's growth has attracted major global investors, but it has remained independent and competitive. Its strategy is going to stay lean, take smaller commissions from drivers, and expand into complementary mobility services. For users, the experience is nearly identical to Uber, making it an easy switch where available. Another important player is Free Now, originally founded in Germany as My Taxi and backed by BMW and Daimler. It focuses heavily on licensed taxis, helping it comply with local regulations. While it still operates widely across Europe, it was acquired by Lyft in 2025, meaning it's no longer European-owned, though it remains very useful in cities where Uber is restricted or unreliable. Europe also has strong local taxi apps and a unique strength in public transport platforms. National rail and city transit apps often outperform global tools for planning and ticketing, reflecting Europe's dense and well-integrated transport networks.
The realistic strategy is diversification. Keep Uber if it works for you, but install Bolt and local alternatives like Free Now. Compare prices and availability. You may find Bolt cheaper or more reliable in certain areas. Having multiple apps also protects you from surge pricing or shortages. Beyond ride-hailing, Europe excels at alternative mobility models. BlaBlaCar, a French carpooling platform, dominates long-distance ride-sharing across several countries and has grown to over 100 million members. It highlights how Europe often innovates around shared, cost-efficient transport rather than pure ride-hailing. From an investor perspective, Bolt is one of Europe's most valuable startups and a rare case of successfully competing with an American giant at scale. More broadly, Europe's mix of taxis, transit, and shared mobility reflects local regulation and culture rather than a one-size-fits-all model. For users, the takeaway is simple. Don't default to one app. Use the best tool for each trip. Sometimes that's Bolt, sometimes a local taxi, and often a tram or train. Diversifying saves money, improves reliability, and supports a more competitive mobility ecosystem. And that's all for today. In the second part of this podcast on European consumer apps, we will explore alternatives in shopping and payments, streaming, AI assistance, and food delivery. Stay tuned.
Thank you for listening to the EuroTech Podcast. If you enjoyed this recap, be sure to subscribe for next week's tech news highlights. Until then, have a great week and stay tuned for more updates on Europe's tech scene.
This podcast was produced by Asif Rajani and brought to you by EuroTech.vc, empowering Europe to lead the global tech race.